Okay, so now we're going to react to Ben Shapiro's take on what he calls Brokeback Zombie Farm. Again, yeah, conservatives can't understand anything unless they relate it to something that they already have been spoon-fed, right? Brokeback Zombie Farm or gay Ron Swanson or right. So let's see what Ben Shapiro has to say.
Okay, time for a thing that I hate.
Things I hate.
Okay, so we're going to steer into some dicey waters here. I'm back to criticize Last of Us, right? This is the one that stars Pedro Pascal, and things about this series that are good. And again, preface, I've never played the game, so don't care about the game, don't care about how true it is to the game. There are lots of gamers out there who watch their videos on the correlation between the game and the show. That's fine. I'm just watching it as a piece of pure TV entertainment. Hey, I'm coming from, I don't care what's canon, I don't care what's not canon. Just coming at it from the view of a TV viewer, so I'm just going to say that right up front. That is not my particular purview. I don't play video games because I'm not a child. I know. I'm just joking. Lots of good people play video games. Okay, and then
whoa, what was that? Oh, of course I don't play video games because I'm not a child. And then what was that pause? What was that face that he made?
I know.
He sort of laughs. He sort of like suppresses a laugh.
Not my particular purview. I don't play video games.
I'm not a child.
I know.
Yeah, he sort of looks off to the side yeah, I know, guys. I know. Yeah, is he looking at his producers? Are his producers going like, no Ben, you can't say that. You can't diss the gamers, Ben. The gamers are like half your audience, Ben. Yeah, like Ben Shapiro's audience is like half I don't know, annoying, edgy 15-year-olds who or 18-year-olds who want to feel like they are special because they are conservative. They're like the right-wing version of debate bros, right? Where it's like they want to act like they're smarter than everyone, so they go to Ben Shapiro, right? The guy who owns liberals with facts and logic, right? Yeah, they want to be different from the rest of the liberal establishment. They want to be different from the rest of the lame liberals who go to their high school, right? They want to be Ben Shapiro fans. And then they're like the groypers, right? He appeals to the groyper, I guess the baby groypers, right? Because Ben Shapiro is alt-light, right? He's sort of a gateway drug to Jordan Peterson, and then more radical voices, Matt Walsh, and then then the alt-right figures, you know. I would imagine a lot of Nick Fuentes fans started out as Ben Shapiro fans, and then, you know, once they realized Ben Shapiro wasn't really doing it for them, then they moved on to the, you know. And of course, there are plenty of adults who play video games. Oh, and the other half of Ben Shapiro's audience is boomers who want to feel like they're in touch with the conservative youth who watch Ben Shapiro, right? So, there are plenty of adults who play video games, and a lot of those adults are right-wing, or at least the right-wing can appeal to them because, you know, of the Gamergate stuff. They don't want woke stuff in their video games, right? And that's a pretty big contingent of the right-wing. I don't know, The Quartering started out as a gaming channel, but then now The Quartering is a right-wing weirdo, right? Or the Act Man, right? He was in the Hogwarts Legacy discourse, dropping some hot takes, or not even hot takes, but appealing to the gaming masses. And it's most of those people are in their 20s or in their 30s, right? Gaming is a mainstream thing now. Plenty of adults game. Plenty of adults play Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, or Fortnite. Yeah, even adults play Fortnite now, right? Nah, but Call of Duty, that's for the real adults, right? Yeah. So Ben Shapiro sort of knows that, and his producers know that, so that's why he's no, Ben Shapiro, you can't say that. You can't say only children play video games, Ben. Yeah, Ben Shapiro is a true believer in a way. He's a real old school conservative, classical paleo, not a paleo conservative maybe, but he's like he's the kind of person who would be like, I don't play video games because I'm a child, right? I'm an adult, and I do adult things, not things that children do, because I'm a fully grown human being, and I do important things like rant about stupid culture war nonsense on my syndicated broadcast, right? Or he watches TikToks and he does TikTok reacts. I gotta react to the Ben Shapiro TikTok reacts, because yeah, his reactions are something. Anyways,
I'm just joking. Lots of people play video games. Okay.
I'm joking. Lots of people are. I'm just joking. That's a joke. Yeah, he doesn't want to offend the anti-woke crowd, who's apparently kind of snowflakey, right? Hey, everyone's a snowflake. Okay, don't worry about it.
And anyway, including Andrew Clayton, who's a mediocre person. Anyway, The Last of Us is for those who haven't seen it, it is a zombie show. Okay, it's a show about a zombie show that essentially arises because fungi go viral, essentially, and take over.
Fun guys go viral. Yeah. Yeah, one fun guy goes viral on TikTok and turns all the Zoomers into zombie Zoomers.
For people's brains and turn them into zombies. That is the premise of the show, and it's really well produced,
sure,
and beautifully shot, and it's really well scripted, and all the rest. So the first two episodes,
he's got to say it's very very well written, it's beautifully shot, and all the rest, because he still has to like pretends to be nice pause. He's got to pretend to be like a Kino aficionado. He's got to be like a guy who, you know, because he himself wanted to be like a screenwriter, right? He couldn't cut it in the screenwriting business, and that's why he's here. That's why he's a failed. That's why he's on the Daily Wire, because he's a failed artist. Yeah, there's a lot of failed artists who become like right-wing grifters or even fascists, right? There's the big one, you know, Adolf Hitler, the original failed artist turned fascist, right? And then Steven Crowder, he wanted to be a comedian, and he had a few voice acting lines, right? Roles, but he tried to be a comedian. He couldn't cut it because his comedy was too juvenile. But you know who really appreciates juvenile comedy? Right-wing people. So yeah, his show is like the most immature like shit you've ever seen, right? Anyways,
are about Pedro Pascal. Again, some of this is sort of hackneyed trope, but he is introduced to the other main character, who is a young girl. The young girl is, for some reason, immune to the zombie virus.
For some reason.
And so the question is,
well, for the some reason is that it's a plot point, right? There doesn't have to be a reason. The reason is that it makes for good story writing. Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, Ben Shapiro doesn't understand how to write stories. It doesn't matter why. It can be like a Deus Ex Machina for all like the audience care, for all the writers care, right? The important thing is that it makes a good story. Yeah. Again, like if Ben Shapiro had the artistic ability to actually write good media, then he wouldn't be on the Daily Wire.
Can he get her to a place where presumably they're going to try to manufacture a cure from her? Right?
Oh, he doesn't know. Does he know? Does he know? He said he doesn't play the video game, and so he doesn't care. But yeah, if he knew, then maybe he wouldn't be saying this dumb take.
Where the show is going, I would assume, because any other place doesn't make any sense. So it is this character Joel. And his character...
Well, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. Yeah. So the whole point of the end of the Last of Us, spoiler alert, is that like, you know, Joel comes to love Ellie, because another spoiler alert. Yeah, Joel loses his real daughter at the beginning of The Last of Us, and then he sort of like adopts Ellie, or like he and Ellie have to go on a long journey, and he comes to like think of Ellie as like his new daughter, right? So like at the end he has to make a choice. Does he allow Ellie to be sacrificed, or does he save Ellie in a very selfish act? And of course we all know what happens, right? Yeah. I mean, the game came out in like 2012, right? So yeah, we all know that Joel does some really fucked up stuff to save Ellie, and it's a very selfish act of him. And Ellie acknowledges this at the end of The Last of Us Part 2, right? In a flashback, so it's kind of like... But, yeah, Joel says he has no regrets because, and so if... I talked about this before, like, if Ben Shapiro understood that, like, the whole point of the show was, like, the value of, like, human connection and love over anything else, then like he would understand the importance of episode 3. But we'll get to that.
Ellie, and they're navigating the zombie apocalypse. And then we get to, so that's the first couple episodes, and they're good, they're really compelling, again, really well made, really well written.
Really
and then we get to episode 3, and
right.
this, according to the media, is the single greatest episode of television that has ever been. If you
nobody said that. It's nobody's even saying it's the best episode of The Last of Us, but it is a good story. I've seen it. It's a very beautiful like love story of beautiful story of like this kind of like lonely, paranoid, schizo, doomsday prepper, learning how to love, learning to find love, and learning, what's really important in life, finding a reason to live, right?
Read the headlines on episode 3. This is the most important thing that has ever happened in the history of television. CNN, The Last of Us just made an early claim to one of the best TV episodes of 2023. The Last of Us viewership soars 12% to a new series high with heartbreaking episode 3.
Heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking.
It's important. Okay, guys, it's historic and important. Now, why is it historic and important? It's historic and important because it's about 2 gay dudes.
It's not because it's about 2 gay dudes, okay? If it was just about like 2 gay dudes falling in love, that would be one thing. I mean, there's plenty of episodes, like there's plenty of TV about that. It's a beautiful love story. It like them being gay is irrelevant to the story, right? The story isn't about them being gay. It's about like I said, like finding love. It's about them falling in love and like finding like a reason to live in this like post-apocalyptic landscape, right? And it can sort of be related to the real world in the form of like in the post-COVID era in which it was written, right? A lot of people felt the same way that Nick Offerman's character must have felt, right? In the Last of Us. He was alone. He was like isolated by the rest of the world. He was alone. He was comfortable within his own world, but like he wasn't happy, right? The whole point of the character arc is like finding a reason to love and like finding like building a life in the ruins of civilization, right? The story isn't about like the zombies. The story is about like the worlds that the zombie outbreak creates, right? We'll get to that though.
Why? So the essential plot of this episode, which is the problem with this episode, and again,
the problem,
Brokeback Zombie Farm or whatever, fine. But the problem with this episode is that it absolutely does not advance the plot in any way, and it actually has no consequences. So the entire plot of the episode is that Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman, but he actually plays Ron Swanson, but Ron Swanson who likes to nail dudes. So Ron Swanson
who likes to nail dudes, of course. Yeah, he has to throw that in there, right? He has to say nail because that's what his generation said, like when they were teenagers. That's to nail dudes. He can't even say bang. He can't even say bang dudes. Like saying like he likes to bang dudes, that could be acceptable, but nail? Who says I nailed my girlfriend last night? Like nobody says that. Maybe in like 2006 or something, 2007, nail was appropriate like a slang for fuck, right? I can say it. Of course he can't say it on the Ben Shapiro show because again there are 14-year-olds watching.
Arian who hates the government and lives in his basement and is a prepper, but also is gay. Ron Swanson, during the zombie apocalypse, he's having himself grand old...
Oh, he does prep all right. Nick Offerman knows how to do prep. Yeah. His character, Bill, yeah, I'm sure he did a lot of bottom prep, right? Yeah, of course Ben Shapiro wouldn't know about that. He wouldn't know about the implications of prepping, right? Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I can't... Would Nick Offerman's character be a top or a bottom? Good question. Yeah, let me know in the comments, like, if Bill is the top or Frank is the top. Which one is the bottom in that scenario? Because like you would think Nick Offerman's character would be the top because he's like super masculine, hyper masculine, right? Oh, that's the other thing, right? Like in a lot of ways, this episode like confirms a lot of like of right-wing beliefs about society because preppers are largely like right-wing people, the people who like stockpile like assault weapons and ammunition, and like of course those people are right-wing, but even people who like stockpile like a bunch of canned food and medical supplies for the impending apocalypse, those people are mostly right-wing, right? There are some left-wing people, but they don't have the guns, right? And Nick Offerman is the only person in his neighborhood who like stays behind. Everyone else is like evacuated to a quarantine zone, and of course everyone in the quarantine zone fucking dies, right? So that confirms like the conservative paranoia about like trusting the government to handle pandemic outbreaks, right? It because of course they didn't trust the government to handle COVID very well, which fair enough, but they trusted the government so little that they wouldn't even wear masks or get vaccinated, right? Because that's part of like the New World Order plan to like to turn everyone into sheep. And then in this episode, people are herded like literal sheep into a literal slaughterhouse, right? I don't know if they die of famine or like a mismanagement from the government, or they're just eaten by zombies or whatever. I heard that they end up in a mass grave, but like who knows? Anyway, it sort of like reinforces the belief of like the lone individual man, right, who sets up his own homestead and defends his own homestead. Because yeah, once Nick Offerman is like the only guy left in his neighborhood, he fences off the whole neighborhood and like has like an electrified fence to keep the zombies out, and then like sets up traps everywhere. And I remember that point in the video game as well. That was pretty fun. That was pretty interesting, having all the traps, navigating them. Oh, and there was that point where you get yanked up by a rope and you're like hung upside down, and you have to shoot zombies while you're hung upside down. That was that was a cool part, right? And then oh yeah, Ben Shapiro says that like this is not related to the plot at all. It is related to the plot. Again, like it's sort of like the episode is sort of like a self-contained plot, right? It does have a point in the sense that like it's not related to the rest of the plot, like not in a direct way, but like the theme of the episode, like I said, relates to the overall theme of the series, which is like the value of human connection, the how like people will prioritize like the ones that they love over anything else and everything else, like the way Joel prioritizes Ellie's life over the lives of literally every other person in the world, right? The way that he like, you know, the way that he chooses to save Ellie by killing a bunch of people, including doctors, right? He stabs a doctor with his own scalpel right in the neck. Pretty brutal. Yeah, and he does that instead of letting them extract the zombie vaccine from Ellie, right? So it does relate to the rest of the show in an indirect way, right? Because it's about like, you know, finding like reasons to survive in this like post-apocalyptic hellscape, right? Like I said, like it's sort of like The Walking Dead in the sense that like Anyways, let's keep going.
Time, for some reason, his town is completely not hit by any of the zombies at all. It's like completely left alone.
For some reason, yeah. Again, if Ben paid attention, he probably didn't even watch the episode. He's just being like fed a script, right? But like, yeah, like I said, like his neighborhood was evacuated, so the zombies would have not as much of a reason to go to that place because there's not like prey there. And then, like, once they're gone, once the humans are gone, Ron Swanson, fences it out and like creates his own little like prepper paradise, right? So that's why, okay. The point of the show is that like he already dealt with the zombie threat by like being like a super like schizo paranoid prepper, which actually, you know, paid off. It's not paranoia if it's the threat is legitimate, right? So he already dealt with the zombie threat. So the point is that like, what do you do once you've dealt with a zombie threat, right? What do you do once that is done? And the point is that like, you have to build like human relationship and like find a reason to live that way. But like, yeah, Ben, like the other conservatives, like Ben doesn't understand like the value of love because Ben has never been in love himself, right? That's like the big the really big explanation for this misunderstanding, right? He brags about like being a virgin until marriage, right? And then until he met his doctor wife, right? And who knows if he actually loves his doctor wife. It seems like conservatives get married not because sometimes they don't actually like love their partner. They just like settle down with the partner because that's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to like marry and have kids, right? They don't do it because they love the other person. They just do it because like, hey, this seems like a good person to have kids with, right?
Goes out and gets all his resources, and then he builds a nice fence around his place, and he sets up all these booby traps so if anybody shows up, they're raiders, they're zombies, they're gonna get killed. And then somehow another dude ends up like falling into one of his traps. And they bang. And they end up becoming a couple.
Oh, he does say the word bang. Okay, cool. Good for him.
There's gay Ron Swanson, and it's complete with like sex scenes and the whole thing. And
sex scenes and the whole thing.
The entire episode has no zombies.
There are no zombies.
Real threat. And it is about two gay dudes who meet and have a relationship in which one grows strawberries for the other, and then they die, but not being killed by zombies or under threat.
Wait, hold on. There's a lot more going on than they meet, they grow strawberries for each other, and then they die. Like even in the clips that Ben is showing here, it's like there's a lot more going on. Like they're clearly like building a life for each other. They're learning how to be happy. They're learning how to make each other happy. But like, yeah, Ben doesn't understand happiness because he's a conservative.
One dies. He gets cancer, and he decides to essentially euthanasia himself. And gay Ron Swanson decides he's also going to commit suicide at the same time because Romeo and Juliet, or Romeo and Romeo in this particular case.
It's not Romeo and Romeo in this particular case. Yeah, very clever, Ben. Yeah, another example of how conservatives can't understand anything without like relating it to something that they already know about, right? Like the writers didn't like copy Romeo and Juliet. They weren't like, oh, we'll make this guy commit suicide after his lover dies, just like Romeo and Juliet, because it's a reference to that. No, it's like the point is that gay Ron Swanson. I mean, now I'm saying it. He kills himself because like his partner was the only reason that he was alive, right? He discovers a meaning to life beyond just surviving. He learned how to live, right? And then like once his partner dies, then he like doesn't have much of a reason to live himself, right? Because his reason to live is gone, right? Of course, he's very old by then too, so like in old age, I guess his partner is the only thing keeping him going at that point, right? So it's also like a story about like growing old and like growing old with somebody else, right? And, like sharing your entire life with this other person. But again, yeah, they don't understand that.
More on that in just 1 second. First, speaking of rough financial situations, a lot of people have had to take out credit cards because obviously the bills are racking up. The problem is you let those credit card bills sit,
is this an ad?
you get those high interest rates. The high interest rates will just break you. You get behind the 8 ball on a credit card bill and you're due. That is a 38 to take control of
special rate
debt,
discount,
low
of course.
Interest rate. Bring $5,000 to $100,000 without any credit card bill. / Shapiro 0.99% subject to institutions.
Damn, he's not even trying. He's not even trying to like. I guess he did do a bit of a segue there, but come on, yeah. Yeah, the ads that the Daily Wire does is like super whack. Like it's either like stuff like this or like scams for like buying gold, right? Because boomers love buying gold. They think like buying gold is like the most solid investment that you can make, even more than the stock market, right? But like, yeah, very little people want to actually associate with these people, with the Daily Wire, so like they get ads like that.
Institutional credibility that actually includes things all the way down to your internet service provider.
Oh, he's still going.
This is a VPN, you try to connection.
Oh, he's got a VPN. Right? Okay, well, everybody has a VPN ad. Everybody who's monetized has like a VPN like ad deal.
And now it's how you pen. Okay, now here's the problem. It's all really well produced and it's beautifully shot. Brokeback Zombie Farm. Here's the problem with Brokeback Zombie Farm. One, it's a zombie.
Well, he's really.
There are no zombies.
He's really getting a lot of mileage out of Brokeback Zombie Farm. He thinks it's so clever, right? The problem is like his young audience probably doesn't even know what Brokeback Mountain is, right? Brokeback Mountain, that's also a show about 2 gay dudes. So that's it's just like this, right?
Fair episode. Like no, I understand simplistic critique, but there are no zombies in a zombie show. This is worth pointing.
It is a simplistic critique, right? It's even a critique that like doesn't really matter. I go so far as to say. Right?
It literally has nothing to do with the plot of the show.
Literally nothing to do with the plot of the show.
This show could have this entire episode could have taken place completely without a zombie apocalypse. It just would have been a...
No, it couldn't have. That's the whole point, right? The whole point is that like these 2 people are the only 2 people around, and they're lucky to have found each other, right? Like the whole premise of the episode is like that they're living in a zombie apocalypse, and then like they're learning how to live through it. They're learning how to find happiness in spite of the apocalypse that's happening around them, right?
A Showtime romance between 2 middle-aged gay dudes who get older, one dies of cancer and the other assisted suicides himself.
Is it assisted suicide?
One iota of the show. It is completely irrelevant to the story. And one of the reasons that it is completely irrelevant to the story is because there are no stakes. Okay, the reason that there are no stakes is because, again, we are in the middle of a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
When you're in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, one of 2 issues has to come into play. 1, the threat of the zombies, or 2, the threat to humanity more broadly. So, if you're talking about the threat to humanity more broadly during the zombie apocalypse, what you're talking about is underpopulation, right? You're talking about there are no people. The zombies are going to take over, humanity is going to be extinct. That is the entire threat in a zombie apocalypse. Correct?
Yeah.
Or in an alien invasion movie.
Yeah.
Or in any other sort of species level extinction event movie, like War of the Worlds. The question is, how do human beings repopulate? How do they survive? And how do they become successful once again?
Right.
If you're going to censor an episode like that, what you need to do is you need to have an episode about people who can have babies. Again, there are only 2 issues in a zombie apocalypse. You could have this whole thing, but the whole thing is these 2 dudes in love, but they're fighting off zombies. But they never fight off the zombies. It's not an issue. So, irrelevant.
Right.
Or you could have them somehow interact with the main characters. They never do.
Is that what's irrelevant?
You could have this whole thing, but the whole thing is these 2 dudes in love, but they're fighting off zombies. But they never fight off the zombies. It's not an issue. So, irrelevant. Or you could have them somehow interact with the main characters. They never do. They interact with the main characters for like 30 seconds. They are both dead by the time the main characters arrive to pick up guns. So this entire episode is a sidestep. It has nothing to do with anything. Ellie and Joel could have just stopped by, found the house, picked up guns, and gone on their merry way. It would have taken 10 seconds. Instead, you get an entire hour-long digression to do, as I say again, La Caja Falls, or whatever it says.
Again, yeah, it's related to like the source material. I know Ben said he doesn't care about the video game because he's an adult who doesn't play video games, but like, it's expanding on the characters that are in the video game. I'm pretty sure the main characters do meet the Bill and Frank in the video game. I'm kind of disappointed that they don't meet them in the show. But like, that doesn't really matter. I don't think, right? it is like, again, like, I get what he's trying to say, that that like that the episode is sort of like a self-contained episode, and I get that, but again, like, I do think it relates to like the same themes that that the rest of the show touches on, right? Like, it is an episode on its own, and that's a good thing. Like, it's a story all on its own. It doesn't have to relate to the rest of the plot to be a good story, because it is a story. It could be like a one-shot story, like, all on its own, right? You could theoretically like make a whole movie about like two gay dudes find love in the aftermath of a zombie apocalypse, and that can be a movie on its own, right? It was 1 hour, so it's like a short movie, I guess. But I think, even though it is sort of a self-contained storyline, it does relate to the rest of the show. It has the same themes as the rest of the show, like, you know, learning how to like rebuild your life, the characters rebuilding their lives in like the aftermath of the zombie apocalypse, right? Yeah, I noticed this, that like Ben Shapiro does not make this criticism about The Walking Dead, right? There are plenty of episodes of The Walking Dead, right, where the characters are like chilling in the farmhouse, or like in the prison, or in Alexandria or wherever, where there are no zombies. Even in that show, like the zombies are like a minor plot point. Like in those parts of the show, it's like the conflicts between human beings, right? It's conflicts between like the different factions of the human beings, and conflicts within each group, right? Yeah, I remember, like, if anything, the zombies are like a minor like plot point to like overcome. And there are plenty of like episodes where it's like they're just chilling in Alexandria, just talking to each other, like about like, hey, it's fucked up that we live in a zombie apocalypse, right? Yeah, it is fucked up, but at least here we have electricity, right? Yeah, it's pretty cool, right? Yeah, there are like, in the first few seasons, the zombies are very prevalent, right? Because they're trying to just escape the zombies and like find some safe haven. But once they do find that safe haven, then it's like trying to rebuild the society within that safe haven, and then like conflicts between other societies, right? So like even in The Walking Dead, like I think it's a pretty common trope within like the zombie genre to have like conflicts between human beings. Like the theme of zombies is like the real monsters are human beings, right? Because like the collapse of society allows human beings to unleash their most violent and dark urges upon each other, right?
Okay, so it's irrelevant.
It's
beyond being irrelevant. It has no stake. So you want to have like an interesting conversation.
What does it mean it has no stakes? I mean, there are no. I guess, yeah, it means that there is no conflict. I guess I sort of get it. It's like you came to the show to like watch like a zombie movie or a zombie show, but like there are no zombies. I sort of get it, but whatever. The point is that like it doesn't have to be about zombies. The point is that like it doesn't. The show is about more than just zombies, right? This is a mature show. Like if you want to just like have nonstop zombie action, you can watch like, I don't know, High School of the Dead, right? High School DxD, or the Korean shows. Oh, there are plenty of good like Korean zombie movies, like Train to Busan. That's a good one. And then what the High School? There's another high school zombie movie that's like almost non-stop zombie action. That's pretty. I saw part of it. It's pretty cool.
About love during the apocalypse. The big issue of love during the apocalypse is, what if you have a baby? What happens if you have a baby? Or should having babies be the purpose here? So let's take another example to show that did this correctly. So Battlestar Galactica had an episode early on.
Battlestar Galactica. Okay, so yeah, I mean, yeah, repopulating theoretically would be important, like in a zombie apocalypse. Well, like, yeah, that's not what the show is about, right? He's saying like I don't know, like showing gay dudes is irrelevant because they can't have babies. Well, like the show isn't about having babies, right? Like this goes back to like Ben Shapiro doesn't understand like love, and that love, like he says that the show has no stakes. The stakes are love, right? The stakes are like Bill living the rest of his life alone, like without finding love. Those are the stakes, right? And he won, right? He succeeded in finding love, so you gotta be happy for him, or you should be happy for him, right? But like, it's not about having babies. Yeah, Ben Shapiro like doesn't understand love. He only sees like love as like a tool for like having babies, right? I guess in the conservative like worldview, like same-sex people should not love each other. It's irrational for same-sex people to love each other because like their relationship cannot produce a child, right? But like like they don't understand that like it's not about love. I mean, love isn't about having kids. It's about like finding your life partner that you enjoy spending your time with, and that you're attracted to, and that you want to share your life with. You enjoy being around, right? It doesn't have to be about children. So in that way, this is how like Ben Shapiro is like subtly being homophobic here, right?
In which one of the questions was underpopulation, right? The fleet is depopulated.
All right, he's talking about Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, like how does he? Why is he talking about this?
Question becomes, what do you do about abortion? So
President Rosalind,
who's a lefty, she decides that she's going to outlaw abortion because if you want humanity to survive, then it turns out that individual autonomy over your body is significantly less important than actually repopulating humanity. So here's Rosalind announcing that she's outlawing abortion, right? Because again, the stakes are whether humanity survives. It is not whether two individuals fall in love in the middle of a farm, not threatened by anyone, which is the story of this particular episode.
Okay, well, wait, hold on. The stakes of whether humanity survives, like...
So here's Rosalind announcing that she's outlawing abortion, right? Because again, the stakes are whether humanity survives. It is not whether two individuals fall in love in the middle of a farm, not threatened by anyone, which is the story.
I mean, like, yeah, that's not what the story's about, right? The story's about love. The story's about, like, I've said this already, but, like, the story, the stakes doesn't have to be, like, always, like, high. You don't always have to be, like, worried about, like, the bigger picture. They like, you... Like Nick Offerman, like Bill and Frank, they can't do anything about like repopulating the world. First of all, there are no women around. It's not like they chose to be gay. They chose being gay over like getting in a straight relationship and having babies. Like maybe they would have had babies if they could have, but like plenty of people are having babies. I'd imagine in the Last of Us universe. Like the stakes don't always have to be high to matter, right? The stakes are finding love. Again, like Ben Shapiro, maybe if he understood like the emotional stakes at play when you're trying to find love, like maybe he would be a more successful writer. Maybe he would have been able to cut it in the screenwriting industry. But whatever. Let's watch a clip from Battlestar Galactica.
Of this particular episode. National issue.
Why did he show that clip? Was he just so horny for like I don't know, outlawing abortion? He's like, let's say hypothetically, in this imaginary scenario, you have to choose between outlawing abortion and like the survival of humanity. Like the stakes are the survival of humanity. So like theoretically, hypothetically speaking, you would have to outlaw abortion in this scenario, right? Right? Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of a very weird thing. I mean, this is all very weird of him, right? But especially weird. Like, why did you show that clip? Like, he says that like.
What do you do during an apocalypse? Do you actually try to preserve humanity or not? Two gay dudes falling in love and dying of old age is not relevant to that particular conversation. Now, you can say, well, that's not what they wanted to cover on the show. That's not what they were interested in covering.
That's not what they wanted.
The truth is, it's a much more compelling storyline. I mean, that's the entire plotline of Quiet Place.
Yeah.
Like, alien invasion. What do you do when you have a baby? Do you continue to have babies in view of the fact that there's a threat to the children, in view of the fact they're going to have to live difficult and rough lives and all the rest of it, right?
Yeah.
You can say, I see the argument. Okay, well, that's not what they wanted to take on in episode 3. So I have a question. What were they seeking to take on in episode 3? What was the main topic that they were seeking to take on?
Again, I've already explained this. Like the topic is like finding love. The topic is like rebuilding human relationships and rebuilding like civilization in the aftermath of an apocalypse, right? Like you don't rebuild civilization just by having babies, right? Like having babies is like an important part, but like, yeah, that's not what they wanted to cover here. They wanted to cover like the human element, the emotional element of like, yeah, like rediscovering like life. It's not like, because life isn't just about surviving, right? If you're merely surviving, what are you living for, right? It's about living. You have to find reasons to live, and love is like the best reason to live out of all of them, right? Yeah, so it's very weird that he shows like a clip of like a liberal president lady in Battlestar Galactica outlawing abortion, even though she doesn't like want to. Yeah, it seems like his audience would just like really enjoys that idea, right? Like, hypothetically speaking, like liberals would be forced to outlaw abortion, and it would be very funny. The libs in this hypothetical scenario in Battlestar Galactica would be very owned by facts and logic of the scenario. Also, he puts out Quiet Place, right? Like in the Quiet Place, like you might not want to have babies around because like babies like will cry and like make noise. You kind of constantly like shush your baby because like the baby will like summon the monsters that are attracted by sound, right? Actually, in the Quiet Place, one dumbass kid does get himself killed because he's a dumbass kid and he like doesn't know any better, so he just starts making sound and then he just gets himself fucking killed, right? Also, like, there are all sorts of like scenarios that can happen within an apocalypse, right? It's possible that like you don't want to have more babies because because there are limited resources, right? Like maybe there's not enough food, there's not enough space, there's not enough like living space, there's not enough supplies or whatever, right? If your population gets too big, then that is also a problem, right? I mean, you want to repopulate and all that, but like, you don't have to like maximize the birth rate. You don't have to do that, right? It's not like you have to mandate like every woman has to have at least 5 children because that's for the good of the human race. It's like
people falling in love during the apocalypse. What are the stakes? We don't know any of these characters, nor are we going to care about them beyond this particular episode.
Well, you don't know about them, but you get to know them during the episode. What is this? Like, what is this argument? He just doesn't like gay people. That's it. It's literally that like, yeah, he would be okay with this love story if it were between a man and a woman, a male and a female. Oh my god. I mean, this is the classic like anti-homophobia argument. It's like you say that 2 gay dudes or gay or lesbians shouldn't get married because like they can't have kids, but what about two heterosexual people who want to get married who can't have kids? Like what if one of them is infertile? What if the woman is infertile? Can they get married then? It's like, hey, the movement, what's up? Yeah, we're talking about like Ben Shapiro and his dumbass takes. I'm a little late to the discourse, but like, yeah, like the classic argument is like you can't have like gay relationships because like gay people can't have kids, but like what about straight couples that can't have kids, right? What about like what about like if the woman is infertile, like can the woman get married then? That was a argument in like the case Obergefell v Hodges, right? Like, and you know that case legalized gay marriage, right? Again, like like Ben Shapiro was saying, like he would be okay with the story if it was a heterosexual couple, but he doesn't like it because it's a gay couple, and he's like rationalizing it in whatever way he can, right? But like,
which means it's basically just a side.
Yeah, so Ben Shapiro is like one of the more smarter like right-wing political commentators. Again, he's not smart, but like he's smarter than like Steven Crowder or something. Steven Crowder, who's like who's homophobic because he just thinks gay people are gross or whatever. But Ben Shapiro is like, again, he's like more like principled, like relatively, or at least he knows how to dog whistle well. He's smart enough to know how to dog whistle. This is the whole like conflict between Steven Crowder and the Daily Wire. It's like like the Daily Wire knew that like Stephen Carter didn't know how to like do the dog whistles just right, right? Yeah, at least like Ben Shapiro is smart enough to like justify his homophobia with like somewhat reasonable like arguments. Again, like the arguments are okay. It's like, yeah, you got to repopulate the human race in the event of an apocalypse, but like it doesn't have that doesn't have anything to do with the show. That's not what the show is about, right? The show is about finding love in like the aftermath of apocalypse, right?
It's a throwaway episode, but it's so important because it has gay people. You see, it's so important. And you know, the guy who created the video game, of course, is a big lefty. In season 2, apparently, it mirrors the video games from what I've been told. It gets very trans and very lesbian and all the rest of it.
Very, very
lesbian. But all we talk about how this was like an excellent episode of TV that was wrapped into a broader show is not true. And pretending that it is ignoring kind of the dynamics of the show. So there's my critique of The Last of Us episode 3. I know I'm not allowed to say that I didn't like it. You have to say you love it, and you particularly love the most, like the most graphic parts of it. Those are the parts you love the most, right? I mean, because if you don't say that, it means you're a homophobe or something. All I'm saying is that nobody actually paid.
Is he talking about the sex scenes? Is he talking about like you have to like the sex scenes, or like you're not? If you don't like gay sex, then you're a homophobe. I mean, yeah, that's dumb.
To see the movie Rose, and when you go to see The Last of Us, what you generally want to see is a zombie apocalypse TV show, not two gay dudes dating while listening to Linda Ronstadt and then dying of old age after growing strawberries.
Yeah.
I think that, and frankly, I think everybody who's like, wow, I was super into this. Yeah, I think some of you are lying. I think some of you are in it, some of you were kind of lying. All right, guys. The rest of the show is continuing right now. I don't want to miss it.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, again, yeah. Ben Shapiro thinks he's like so fucking smart. He's so arrogant. He thinks he knows other people better than they do. He's like, if you say you like the show, you might be lying because you're just saying it just so you can appear woke, right? You don't see the religious argument as homophobia. Just see it simply ignorant belief based on a religious pseudo-logical thoughts. Yeah. You could say like the religious argument is not homophobic, or like or that like you wanted to prioritize like straight relationships over gay ones is unjustified because like straight people can have kids, but like the whole point is that like he's using these arguments to justify what he wants to believe anyways, right? The guy who thinks that gays eat the poo-poo, yes. Well, that's the kind of homophobia that like that they're just disgusted by gay people, right? They're disgusted by the thought of having gay sex. So yeah, I saw the African guy who says the gay people, they eat the poo-poo. Yeah, the point is that like Ben Shapiro is good at dog whistling. He's smart enough to know like what to say. Yeah, they don't actually know how gay people fuck, so like it's very so like they just invent like the worst thing imaginable. Of course, like straight people having sex is also kind of gross, right? It can be gross, right? Like straight dudes can also do anal. Like I said, like an ass is an ass. Like an asshole is an asshole, even if like a male asshole is like more comfy than a female asshole. Still, like having anal with a female is still pretty gross. Yeah, all sex is gross. Like straight sex is also gross. It's just that like if you're straight, you happen to be into that, right? Everyone who's into sex is a pervert of some kinds, right? I guess the only way to be morally consistent is if you're Ben Shapiro and you don't want to have sex at all. You only have sex for procreational purposes, right? You don't have sex for love. You don't have sex for pleasure. You have sex purely to create babies and nothing else, right?